we're pleased to award Bridges of Love with our second Nonprofit Innovation Award. Mark Coleman, the founding director of Bridges of Love.
Thank you. Ministry so accurately. I appreciate that. It often isn't an easy concept to relay to people. But as Mike said, churches have traditionally been very much involved in emergency preparedness, and in years gone by, they were at the forefront of often helping out with disasters, and especially during the recovery efforts when others have gone home, and the churches stay behind and work tirelessly to make sure things are finished. So this initiative is trying to bring us back to where we were in having the churches ready to respond in the event of a major disaster. And we've all heard reports from Slave Lake and Katrina especially, where churches and nonprofits really were in the forefront of helping out during major disasters. So Bridges of Love is mobilizing churches to be coordinated with amongst themselves, which is not always an easy task to do that in a community, but we know that churches are located in most communities, and if you can imagine churches ready to respond if there is a disaster in a community, that they already know what their duties, roles, and responsibilities are, so that there's no fumbling about, but they know how they're going to react, what resources they have on hand, and the city knows what they can expect from us. So the integration with the Calgary Emergency Management Agency was an integral part, and something that I've spent much time building the trust and the rapport with the emergency management agencies and the City of Calgary. So that was really the first step. And now we're on to mobilizing the churches to be ready and trained so that they know exactly where they belong. So this is, I think, the innovative part is just the mobilization, the networking, the integration, and the coordination, which is so important to our effectiveness, so that when we arrive on a scene, we'll know exactly what to do. We won't have egg salad sandwiches that weren't prepared in the proper way and put in the garbage, which is I've heard is often the case. And the emergency management agencies will have us properly credentialed so that we will be able to do what we are hoping to do. So I can't say that we're there yet on every point, but this is our desire to reach that goal.
So where did the idea for this come from? What was the genesis of this?
Well, it's a long story, but to make it short. Bridges of Love was birthed 10 years ago to connect church and community, and I can tell you I had no idea what that was going to look like. But shortly after, I was taken on with the Evangelical Fellowship of Canada under their umbrella, and I was mobilizing churches for issues of poverty with the Millennium Development Goals, a response of the church called the Micah Challenge. And 3 years after working on that, I had an email from a Dr. Tim Foggin, who lived in Burnaby, who had seen the website, and he said, I was a doctor in Shanghai during SARS, and I know the severity of what happened during that time, and I'm sure anybody in Toronto would also be able to relate. But he has a brother, a twin brother, who's a biologist in China, and he was watching the progression of the avian flu. This was back in 2006. And he said, we're going to have another pandemic, and it's inevitable. We know it's coming, we're overdue, so we need to get the churches prepared and ready to respond. And I am a medical lab technologist, and at the time he said this to me, I said, what's a pandemic? So he educated me, had me read a lot of materials, and together we wrote a discussion paper that's called The Guide, and it's still on our website and used all over the world for people to start their own planning on how a church would respond in the event of a pandemic at this point. But we did broaden it to emergency preparedness after forming an advisory council with the emergency management agencies, the NGO community, and the faith community.
Mark, what have you learned about working in sort of multi-systems collaboratives or multi-systems response? So you work with government agencies, you work with no businesses in there at all, but you work with very complex big systems. You've had to create something new within that existing model. What have you learned about working in those bigger systems?
It's not for wusses.
Why is that? Why is it not for wusses? Why can't I work here?
Who's listening to this conversation? Well, it's been a real high learning curve for me, I can tell you. I never envisioned myself doing work like this. You can talk to my husband and he'll tell you that I grew up as the shyest girl. My sister's here too, so she will attest to this, that I never spoke in front of a soul my whole life, never asked a question, and was always in the background of Martha in the kitchen rather than doing anything on the front line. So you know that I definitely am out of my comfort zone in what I'm doing, but I have learned an incredible amount by reading. First of all, I use the library a lot. And I have read enough to earn my PhD, I think, in taking leadership courses, but it still gives you, you're very humbled by what you're doing and the people that you meet along the way. But I found, we had a bed and breakfast before moving back to Calgary 10 years ago, and I learned to love people and I love to serve them. And so my stepping stone to get in the door has been making pies. And don't ask me how I got started in doing this, but CEMA, the Calgary Emergency Management Agency, they see a pie on the counter, they say, oh, Marg's been here, and this is what I've done, and they love eating them and I love making them, so it's been a good partnership. And but it's brought us as friends, not only as colleagues working towards a common goal of emergency preparedness and caring for our communities, but it's brought us closer as human beings. We talk to each other. I go for lunch with the Alberta Health Services, Cheryl Barassa, who's the executive director. So the bridges have been built, and I think these relationships of comradeship has really, we all are on the same journey. We all have insecurities, and with building bridges now with the churches is a little bit bigger with over 500 churches in Calgary, but I think they know who I am, and I may be a little thorn in their side, but we are collaborating, and we're starting to realize that the community is there for us to serve. And I'm happy to see a pastor sitting over here that has come today, and his wife, and we're learning together what we can do to help out in the community. And I see so much acceptance of having the churches help. I was a little fearful when I first started this. Public Safety Canada was actually the ones that I first went to, and Michelle Seguin is the director of Alberta Public Safety, and he's got a few pies as well, and is coming down to our advisory council meeting to speak to our group in November. So it's been a real experience, and we've all grown, and I think we'll continue to do so as we break down stereotypes of each other and to get to see that we're all just people and working towards a common goal. Is getting ideas, and I can say for myself, I've been working alone with Bridges of Love for 10 years now, and I'm a people person, as you probably gathered, so it's been unusual that I've been able to keep going for this amount of time on my own. But I think the thing that keeps me going is having others. Even though I am alone at my office, I collaborate with a lot of people, our board and churches, the public sector. So I think we have to always be open to new ideas and new ways of doing things, and listening. I think listening is a skill that we all need to develop more, that so many people have good ideas. And for myself, being fairly insecure when I started all of this, I was always afraid to voice my opinions too loudly in case they were perceived as being silly, but I read through the definition of innovation, and they said the crazy people, the perceived crazy people in this world are the innovators. So I thought, well, I guess we shouldn't be afraid to ever not to be open and express what we feel is perhaps a really good idea. And our innovative ideas are often outside the box, usually outside the box, so that it takes people a while to get their head around what we're doing. But it takes a spark often to just get things going, and I do thank the CCVO for perhaps being the spark that is going to put Bridges of Love on the stage to say this isn't so crazy after all, that it has value, and so this is what it's all about. It's perseverance, I think, is the answer.
So one piece of advice, and I did it in a short paragraph. So I thought long and hard about how I would answer this to make it the most powerful, but I looked at our 10 principles, and persistence, belief, and compassion for work was a really big one to let people know about. That openness to learning, flexibility, and feedback to allow continual improvement in how we do business and how we can better improve our business. And a practice model that is consistent and structured to help direct the work in a way you want your agency to go. So those seem to be the big learnings for us and how we can move forward.
No, thank you. I've already said this, sort of don't just strike no from your vocabulary, but the other thing I think I would say is this, and don't expect to be popular or loved. Because if that's what you're in it for, I don't think that's where you're going to get.
Okay, inspirational. Off you go. By yourself.
How can you have Bridges of Love and not be loved? That's a tough one. But what I put down for this question was, I said, and I mentioned that before, is passion plays an important role in innovative thinking. You have to have passion about your innovative ideas or you'll never get anywhere with them. You have to feel strongly that your ideas are worthy. You have to believe in yourself and know that your ideas are good. If you do not stand behind your ideas, then it will be quite hard to get others on board. Being passionate about innovative ideas is not something you learn, it's something that comes from the heart, and that is uncontrollable. Persistence and passion go together when it comes to innovative ideas. People are quick to ignore or put off things that are new. People will likely not be nearly as interested in your ideas as you are, so you have to be ready for that. You have to keep pushing your ideas in front of people, and it is the passion that will drive you to do this. So never let go of the passion. Never allow yourself to lose fight and drive. Always stand behind your idea and always know what to say. Be prepared.
Okay, well, when we were looking at this, the thing that stuck out for us is what we did is don't be afraid to have outsiders or consultants come in and examine the way you're doing things. Especially if you have a tried and true model like we have, and have somebody with fresh eyes come in and look at it, and they can see things in a different way when you're buried in it every day. And engage your staff every step of the way, in particular recognizing that your frontline staff is your best resource. They're working up front, they see things that the leaders often miss. So that's a good one. And finally, when it comes to implementing the change, don't get discouraged. Even if things don't go exactly the way you thought they might, it takes effort, it takes commitment, passion, all of those good things. And our frontline staff, like Heather, she celebrates every day, and she's 100% bought in. So thank you, Heather.
Thank you. Now, round of applause for all our panelists.